They say your home is your sanctuary, a place of peace, laughter, and safety. But what happens when a quiet backyard turns into the front line of an unexpected war? This is the true story of one family's dream home, a relentless HOA and a neighbor whose obsession crossed every line. It began with a pool and ended in a courtroom. What unfolded in between will make you question where the real boundaries lie. Last summer, Jenny and I finally found the house we'd always dreamed of. It was a modest ranch-style home, nestled in Oak Ridge Heights, a quiet suburban pocket untouched by the pressures of homeowners associations. The biggest draw for us was the pool, an old but well-kept in-ground beauty that sat right on the edge of two neighborhoods. Technically, we belonged to Oak Ridge Heights, free from the grasp of any HOA. But the property behind ours marked the beginning of Blackwood Manor, a pristine, rule-heavy community where uniform lawns and silent evenings were taken as gospel. For the first few months, life was golden. Jenny and I spent evenings by the water with our two kids, grilling on weekends and hosting low-key get-togethers with friends. I kept the pool spotless. In fact, some neighbors even joked that I should start charging admission. We felt lucky, like we had stumbled upon a hidden slice of paradise. That illusion shattered the day Richard Crawford moved in next door. He introduced himself with a grimace instead of a smile. Within a week, I noticed him peering over the fence, arms crossed, eyes scanning like a surveyor charting enemy territory. I waved once. He didn't wave back. Then came the Saturday morning in July. I was scrubbing algae off the pool steps when I heard footsteps behind me. Richard stood on the other side of the fence, lips tight, eyes narrow. "I need to talk to you about your pool," he said without preamble. About what I asked, puzzled. The noise, the view, the equipment, your fence. It doesn't meet Blackwood HOA standards. I chuckled before I could stop myself. That's because I'm not in Blackwood. I'm in Oak Ridge. Your rules don't apply to my property. His face didn't change. We'll see. The next day, a thick envelope appeared in my mailbox, a 12-page document listing supposed infractions ranging from visible pool pumps to unauthorized lighting and inappropriate flotation devices. I tossed it into a drawer. The absurdity was almost entertaining. Until the threat started. The second letter came with a warning of daily fines. The third included vague language about potential legal proceedings. I sent back a formal letter of my own stating clearly that I was not subject to their governance, but Richard wasn't looking for clarity. He was looking for control. One morning I stepped outside to find Richard and two others from the HOA standing in my yard, pointing laser measuring tools at the pool. "What do you think you're doing?" I snapped. "We're conducting an inspection," Richard replied, smug and unapologetic. "On my property. Without permission, you'll want to cooperate if you don't want this to escalate." I called the police. Officer Martinez arrived quickly and ordered them to leave. That should have been the end of it. But Richard wasn't just stubborn, he was obsessed. A few weeks later, I received a lawsuit in the mail. The claim that my pool was a nuisance and was negatively impacting property values in Blackwood Manor due to moisture emissions, noise, and atmospheric intrusion. Jenny was shaken. I was furious. We hired Linda Chen, a seasoned attorney with a reputation for dismantling ridiculous claims. She reviewed the case, laughed, and helped us file a countersuit for harassment legal fees and punitive damages. At the hearing, the HOA's lawyer tried to argue jurisdiction over my property. Linda interrupted, calmly handed over aerial photos, zoning maps, and, most importantly, security footage of the trespassing. The judge didn't just side with us. She scolded the HOA's representatives for overreach and awarded us $25,000 in damages, plus all legal costs. I thought that was the climax. But then came the sabotage. One early morning, I noticed the pool water looked off, cloudy and tinged gray. I ran a chemical test. Something was wrong. I checked the security feed. The footage showed Richard dressed in dark clothes, climbing over our fence at 3 a.m. and pouring something into the water. I called the police immediately. This time, Richard wasn't just escorted off the property. He was arrested for trespassing, vandalism, and violation of a court order. Later, we found out the substance he dumped was harmful enough to warrant criminal charges. The fallout was swift. Richard resigned from the HOA, his reputation shattered. He tried to sell his house, but word had already spread. Buyers backed out. Some neighbors quietly celebrated his departure, while others offered apologies for not speaking up sooner. The story could have ended there, but it didn't. A few months later, a new family moved into Richard's house. Scarlett and her husband knocked on our door one evening with a warm pie and open smiles. They had intentionally avoided HOAs after a bad experience in a previous neighborhood, and were stunned by what we'd endured. "We heard rumors," Scarlett said, "but we never imagined it was this extreme." We became fast friends. That summer we threw a pool party, the first in a while. Kids laughed, neighbors mingled, and something shifted in the air. A few residents from Blackwood attended too. People who had once walked past our home with wary glances now asked if they could bring dessert. That night, Scarlett suggested starting a community watch that included both Oak Ridge and Blackwood residents. "Maybe it's time we stop pretending there's a line between us," she said. We agreed. The invisible fence had done more damage than good. The legal battle had cost us time, money, and peace. But it had also revealed something important: how fragile civility can be when power is abused, and how strong a community becomes when people choose unity over silence. As for the pool, I upgraded it to a saltwater system, added underwater speakers, and even installed motion-detecting lights. Some might say I went overboard, but every time I float under the stars, music echoing beneath the surface, I remember peace is worth protecting. And karma has better aim than I ever could.